Y'all look confused. Do you not know sign language? No. Oh, all right, let me try this again. One day, a man went to the doctor for his physical. The next week, the doctor saw him again with a beautiful woman walking side by side, arm in arm. The next time the man saw the doctor, he said, "Wow, you're doing great." And the man said, "Hey, I'm just doing what you said. Find a hot mama and be cheerful." And the doctor said, "No, I said you have a heart murmur. Be careful." This joke proves two things: that sometimes what we hear is not always what was said, and when we're speaking the same language, life gets a lot easier. What I've learned with employees that the most important thing for job satisfaction and retention is good communication. Because when employees feel heard, they feel cared for, and when they feel cared for, they want to stay. The most positive relationships are formed when someone feels like they are truly heard, that they can go with someone and trust them when they need some help. By simply listening to what they have to say, a bond is formed, and so the employee wants to stay and be a part of the company's growth. Empower your employees. Listen to what they have to say, whether it's an idea or a complaint. This lets them know that what they say truly matters. Now, what happens when communication goes awry? Small misunderstandings, whether verbal or virtual, can lead to a huge conflict. I'm Dr. Laura Cole. I've been a sign language interpreter for over 25 years, and during that time I have been privy to thousands of conversations. I have had to clearly understand both sides so I can mediate the information. The techniques I will be sharing with you today will facilitate understanding so you have a more peaceful work environment. Because we all know when there's tension with the teams, there is less production and a lower profit. And that is the antithesis of a successful business. All right, you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Excellent. Number one, nonverbal communication. Sometimes when you walk into a team meeting, have you ever had that experience where there's so much tension you can cut it with a knife? Nothing has been said, but you know something is going on. Communication is only 30% of what we say. 70% is about facial expressions, body movement, and the intonation of our voice. Maybe you've had the experience of when you walk in the room and somebody is sitting this way, back, with a grimacing look on the face. You know this isn't good. You want to be able to be more receptive. Sit forward with an intent look on your face, arms open, and you know they will feel more comfortable. Before you even begin to speak, when you're walking into that meeting, observe what is going on. What is their body language? Are they looking at each other? Are they looking away? Are their arms crossed? Looking at bored? Or are they intently excited about being in this meeting? These nonverbal cues will let you know what you're getting into before the meeting even begins. Also, who has experienced someone when you're trying to talk to them is looking at their phone the entire time? Eye contact is vital. Simply looking at someone in the eye makes them feel secure and important that you really care about that conversation. I knew a director of nursing that when she went into the room, she did not look at the nonverbal cues. And she came in just giddy and happy, and she was having the best day. She looked down. When she finally looked up, she saw the distraught look on the woman's face because she was in there to talk to her about harassment. She had to quickly backpedal and change her whole reference to feel empathetic for what was going on in this woman's life. Nonverbal cues are vital. Eye contact, The way you open up to your employees will help them to feel more comfortable and more cared for. Next, do your research. Know the persons that are involved and their background. Misunderstandings often happen simply because of different cultures and their different perspectives. For example, the first time I heard a deaf culture person say, "Wow, I haven't seen you in a long time. You've really gained weight. You're fat." My eyes nearly bugged out of my head. The reason this happened is because in deaf culture, they are just blunt and straight to the point. Here is your opportunity for cultural mediation to help those find a better way to express in another person's language that will make them feel more comfortable. My interpretation would be, "Oh, wow, I haven't seen you in a long time. Have you gained some weight?" Much more subtle and much easier for us hearing folk to handle. Assess what kind of language is being used. It's important that we're on the same page, that we all understand what the other is talking about. One time I was interpreting for an intricate heart surgery, and the woman had no idea what the doctor was saying. She was highly intelligent, but the verbiage he was using was for another medical professional. I had to ask him, "Would you please break down this concept so we can understand it better?" When you understand where somebody's coming from, whether it's in a different field or just what's going on with their life, then it's easier to understand. For instance, when I talk to you about intimate linguistic register, what do you think of? Well, most people think of sex, but that's not what it is at all. Intimate linguistic register is when you know somebody so well that with a simple expression or just a few words, you're able to explain an entire concept. For example, as a mama, when my child has done something in public that is not good, I will look at them like this. We all know that look. Or one time I was interpreting video relay, which is interpreting phone calls. And the client says, "The eagle has landed." I thought, the eagle has, what does that mean? Am I interpreting right? And then I realized, oh, this is for a drug deal. Once I knew what those few short words meant, I was able to do a much better interpretation of that call. Stay on the same page with your employees. Know their language and where they're coming from. If you are in HR, don't talk to them like you would to the IT department. Stay with them. Use their language and understand where they're coming from. My last point today, I call it mutual understanding. Who has ever experienced observing a conversation when they're talking over so much they have no idea what the other person is saying? Yeah, it's because they're so busy formulating that response in their head that they're not hearing about the conversation. What happened to me once was I was interpreting a divorce proceedings, and the judge asked us to go in the room in the back so the lawyers could mediate with the couple. Well, it got so heated that they started screaming at each other, and the lawyers just had to completely cut it off. When we walked out of the room, everybody in the courtroom was staring at us. This kind of communication cannot be diffused. You have to be in a calm state in order to find a resolution. The way to get calm is by listening intently for mutual understanding. Now, this is very vital. I want you to listen to this if you don't take anything else from my talk. And what's great is you can also use this in your relationships at home. How it works is the first person that's involved in the misunderstanding gets to express everything about what they're disgruntled about without interruption. They get it out. They make sure that they're heard. Now, the second person, when they're done, says, "What I'm hearing is," and gets to repeat back. And then the first person has the opportunity to clarify any misinformation. And this goes back and forth until person number one feels completely understood. Because when we feel heard, when we feel understood, then we are going to be in a better place to find a resolution. Now, the hardest part about this often is the person number 2 really wants to be able to express themselves and get defensive. Just assure them that they are going to have their time to tell everything that's on their mind as well. So we go to the second part. The second person expresses everything that they want to, and the first person comes back. What I heard was, until yet again they can come to that mutual understanding. Something else that I've learned is not to use the statement, "Do you understand?" And there's 2 reasons for this. The first time is we might not hear what was said, and it's coming from our own mind, our own perception about what's going on in our life. For example, just last week, I was talking to a girlfriend and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm watching TV." Well, I thought that was weird because she doesn't have a TV. So I said, "Did you go over to my house?" She was really confused. So I asked again for understanding, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm brushing JB." Well, that's her horse because she's a horse trainer. Totally misunderstood what she said. I asked for clarification. Now, the other reason you may not want to ask, "Do you understand?" is because people are too scared or intimidated. They're embarrassed to ask. When I went to Gallaudet University, the only 4-year liberal arts university for the deaf, where everything is done in sign language. There is no talking with our voice on the campus. Well, on my first day, I went down to get some toilet paper from the RA, and she said, my response was, and I ran back up to my suite mate, having no idea what she said. So I asked her, I said, "What does this mean?" She said, "Laura, she just told you she saw you making out with a boy around the corner." I was too embarrassed to ask for clarification. The same thing can happen with management. People get intimidated when they're talking with people a level up. So be considerate. Instead, think of, "Would you mind repeating back what you heard?" Or, "Would you tell me again to make sure that my explanation was clear?" This way it will calm their nerves. Anything that was misunderstood can be understood by the end of the conversation. For a quick recap, nonverbal cues. Read the room before you walk in the door. Number 2, get to know their background, do your research, understand who you are working with. And 3, listen intently for mutual understanding. I gave you 3 techniques today, but communication is not about technique. It's about clearly understanding your teammates. This is what is going to provide peace in the workplace and understanding. So let's talk. Let's talk about how we can improve communication to provide a more peaceful workplace. Thank you.